All right, got one more day, and I gotta go on I gotta go away for 4 days or something, or 5 days. I'm gonna have a meeting with some people and doing some huge conservation items for wildlife in British Columbia and elsewhere. I know I don't talk about it too much, but I do a lot of that when I can. So let's see what we have. Steve, it's Mike Ray again. I sent the description of the female Bigfoot to you. Yes, you did, Mike, and I hope I shared it. If I didn't, remind me somebody. I'm pretty sure I did. My dad and I decided since the weather's warm and dry, we'd do a bit of investigation in the area we saw the female. We set up trail cameras near the trail bordering a swamp area near to where we hiked in March. We left 4 cams 50 yards apart facing the trail and swamp. 3 of the 4 we recovered, all with 2 weeks of photos of deer, elk, and bobcat, no Bigfoot. The missing trail cam was not cut down, rather than the 6-inch alder we attached it to was snapped above the mount and slipped off. Gone. Heavy orange grape bushes on the floor around, so no prints. As we searched for the cam, we noticed along the edges of the swamp there were several areas where the cattails were pulled out of the mud with missing rootstock. It looked as if they were a bit off, then simply discarded on the ground. It wasn't a harvest, rather it appeared to be like something was browsing, selecting the young plants, leaving the tall, older stalks alone. There were water-filled prints noticeable, however, not defined. Didn't take photos since they don't impress anyone. As we moved around to the south side of the swamp, we were hit with the odor of decomp. Strong smell of something dead. Decomposition. The smell came from an area where it's full of blackberry, Scotch broom, and heavy undergrowth, tucked up against the short pine, all next to a planted area of pine and fir planted in 1981. There are 2 streams feeding the pond/swamp year-round. A larger creek, 6 to 8 feet across, 8 to 16 inches deep, running near the swamp, spilling into the Chehalis River. The creek hosts salmon 3 times a year for spawn. Other food sources include Oregon grape, blackberry, huckleberry, wild apples, off of 9 trees. They're obviously eating the cattails, crawfish, and freshwater mussels. A large herd of elk reside in that area and move about in an area some 50 square miles. Plenty of deer as well. Once in a while, you'll run across an old deer skeleton, not dumped by man, rather miles from the main road where nobody hikes. I believe we stumbled onto one of their habitable food sources, perhaps home range. We haven't seen or heard one in the 6 times we've been out since my first encounter with my dad. But I am clear, as my father as well, on how these Bigfoot survive. Since my encounter, I've been striving for more information. I need to know more. I've been focusing on the things I've not heard anyone describe. The search area has been confined to this water source so far, however. I will venture out further to find anything to do with them. I smartly take someone with me since I have no idea what to expect, but will continue to search for more answers. I hope this helps someone fill in the blanks, or as you say, pieces of the puzzle. Steve, keep inspiring everyone. Damn glad you're here, Mike. All right, Mike, thanks for that update, buddy. And I find it's almost, it's not amazing, it's not, I don't know if I'm using the word amazing, but it sure is interesting to me to watch. I'm not saying this about you, Mike, directly, but it kind of reminds me of something I took notice a while back, is how so many people just start going into the woods and looking for them after seeing them, becoming aware that they're very real and they're out here. And you almost got to wonder why sometimes, right? Like, and I'm just saying this innocently. I'm not saying it as any demeaning at all. I'm just saying as an innocent question is why. If you've already seen one of these things, you obviously know that they can outclass you, and if they felt like it, pull you into a million different parts in less than 2 minutes if they decided to. They obviously do not want anything to do with us on average. Why do so many people get obsessed with it, dedicate their entire lives to frustrating the piss out of themselves while trying to go out and seek them out? I find that interesting. I don't find that doesn't make you any less of anybody else, so don't get me wrong, don't twist what I'm saying. I'm just always have that wondering, I'm innocently wondering why so many people have that reaction, because there is no shortage of people who've had that reaction, and they go absolutely overboard in being obsessed with finding these things and finding out the truth. Whereas I'm at the stage of the game now, you can't find more truth than you can through all of the people, like we're doing here now. You can't find more truth. I mean, for every day that somebody spends out in the woods trying to find answers and trying to classify answers, literally lifetimes of information are flooding in through this channel daily. Lifetimes of information. Your average 1 or 2 emails into this channel represents probably 200% more information than your average person is going to find intentionally going out and looking. Does that make sense? Meaning, all right, I'm absolutely obsessed with Sasquatch. I'm going to go out in the woods and I'm going to find them. I'm going to try every trick I can. I'm going to go find them. And off I go into that patch of forest right there, me by myself or my partner, off we go. We're going to go figure this out. And the amount of time it takes, say, an average person like me or somebody else to go into the woods and come up with definitive evidence, physical evidence, or even a track could possibly be years. When meanwhile, if you just listen to the people, you get all the answers rapid fire in less than frickin' 30 minutes. Right? To each your own. I'm just, my brain fires in certain ways and then it kind of flows out my mouth in front of the camera. But I never tell anybody what to do, what not to do. I never tell anybody what to think or what to say or what not to say. I just offer up various different angles to come at different topics and look at them from a different angle. And I might be a little repetitive on this little note, but I'm going to strongly suggest to every single person who's listening to this right now to stop saying that we need proof. Try to stop yourself from thinking or verbally saying out loud, we finally need to prove it. Somebody's finally going to prove it to the world. We need the proof. Because it's already been done. It's been done so many times, it's mind-boggling. What's amazing is how many people still knee-jerk, their brain still knee-jerk reacts that way and says, okay, we need proof. Okay, just slow down, take a look, expand your mind, kick bullshit to the side, and just have a real honest look at what's been delivered. Not only just on this channel, well, a lot's been delivered on this channel, let's face it, but altogether. The evidence is in. It's been proven. Try to find out why. I've said this before. The energy you put into thinking you're going to prove something, thinking you need the evidence, thinking you need to engage in somebody who laughs or scoffs, all that energy, if it's taken away from doing that and directed at finding out why we're not informed honestly about these facts, then you're going to come up with the real answers that we need at this stage of the game, the real ones. These things are running around, they're real. I've seen them. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be here talking if I hadn't seen one. But they're here. So that's done. That's done. Put it on the shelf. It's done. Slam forward. Slam forward. Don't engage people in arguing about it. Don't think you need more evidence. Don't think it needs to be proven. And especially don't think it needs to be accepted and delivered to the public by some sort of authority. That's where we all screw up, and that's why we stay stagnant. All right, I know I'm babbling. I've said all this before, but I'm just saying to you guys, try not to get suckered into the mind space of thinking it hasn't been proven. All right? Try not to. You'll get way farther ahead way sooner. Hi, Steve. Thanks so much for your dedication in creating a safe place where all these stories can be shared and accepted. Although never a hunter, being in the real world of nature has always brought me deep comfort and solace. Have had, like yourself, quite a few close calls with what I call death. Love your advice to all to trust your instincts when we sense danger is near. My son-in-law made me aware of your channel and brought these beings to my focused attention just within the last year, and I'm grateful. I saw some very interesting tracks while snowshoeing just a few weeks ago. As you say, they can cover a vast territory and may just be passing through. Please feel free to share these pics with our audience. Believe them to be less than a day old, on a hidden lake with no human sign around at all. Ice surface, wind-blown, crunchy on top. Mushier down near actual ice surface. They appeared to emerge from the bush and bound after my snowshoe tracks from the day before. Strikes me as a possible curious juvenile. Also saw some similar tracks in the bush nearby, walking on moose trails in deeper snow. The following two brief incidents may not directly involve Sasquatch beings. However, the response to felt danger may be of interest in terms of puzzle pieces for some listeners. Way back in the late 1970s, a bunch of friends got some land together in the Almaguin Highlands here in Ontario, near the top of Algonquin Park. Although not as spectacular as what you show us every day, there are ridges, valleys, rivers, lakes, and plenty of bush and wildlife. We have some open fields, moose wander through our yard, and deer also plentiful that they've taken to sleeping right around our house, which is on a small hill with some conifer trees we planted as access for them. They must feel safe here. One hot summer day, my friend dropped me at a large blueberry patch nearby. It is a flat, sandy, open area beside some bushy cedar trees. It was remote enough to take off my clothes. Sunscreen wasn't considered in those days, while I eagerly filled my plastic bucket. Suddenly I heard a definite thumping on the ground in the cedar thicket, which is only 20 to 30 feet away. To me, it sounded like horses' hooves, which seemed odd. What happened next was even stranger. I heard a voice in my head. It sounded like my voice say, "You're not going to get these berries." Just then a black bear charged me from the trees. We both stood up about 6 feet apart. The skinny, naked, white-skinned human and this bear same height, but way heavier and stronger. Having just had this weird, aggressive thought just before he or she appeared and rushed me, we both paused, and before I could freak out, the bear quietly backed down, turned, and strolled back into the trees, from where I could feel it watching me intently. Had a half-hour wait for my ride to get me, so I put my shorts and t-shirt back on, emptied half the berries from the bucket into a pile right there, and slowly, as in shock, walked to the far part of the patch near the road and kept picking. Next day came back to check, and the berry bushes were torn up. Berry juice on the ground. It was their farm. They manured it. They got their crop. Maybe had a harvest party before I could get back. Many, many years later, just 2016 or so, I was walking in our own 6-acre meadow, a few hundred yards up the ridge from our home. It was 3 to 4 a.m. Often walked there at night, loved to gaze at wide open universe. Suddenly got the feeling, so often shared here, of being watched as food. For me, the back of my head got chilled, and it really did run straight down my spine. A sinking feeling, dread, then another protective intervention, this one visual rather than verbal. It was a brief video in my mind's eye of me fighting off a big cat with a knife, which I didn't have and I never carried, followed by another, each lasting just a few seconds, of me fighting off the cat using Tai Chi, which I've practiced for many years. It's as if some part of my brain, which I didn't know existed, was looking out for me big time. The only word I heard in my mind was cougar. A few seconds later, from a brushy gully about 50-60 yards away, I heard a very loud roar. Steve, this roar sounded frustrated, as if it couldn't bother the trouble of dealing with me. Had those visuals been to give me courage, or had they been sent to the animal? Walked the same path home at an even pace, even though it brought me a little closer to the creature. Once home, never slept a wink, went straight to that gully at first light. It felt safe to check. No visible sign or smell of anything. Steve, have you ever had this kind of psychic protection with your close calls in nature? And hopefully some of the many listeners to this might have something to compare. What if part of our gut instincts might include these type of responses, if we can open to them? Is this what some might call guardian spirits or angels, or at least a more comprehensive full-body awareness than the conscious mind has? Possible sending and receiving images between species reminds me of what Owlman refers to in a more developed form. P.S. YouTubed sounds of cougars and heard one very similar under Florida panther and saw the big cat tracks in the snow. A few months later, now that I was looking for them, and my neighbor, a long-life local, told me he saw one on a big bale of hay in a nearby field watching for rabbits. But as soon as you say, why would it be eyeing me with so many prey animals around? But as you say, why would it be eyeing me with so many prey animals around? Steve, thanks again for letting me share and air this stuff. Hope others can relate. All the best. Keep safe. Mike Costello. Right on, Mike. Thanks for that. I can't say I've had warnings to save my life in the woods yet. I haven't heard any voices yet. I've definitely felt uncomfortable and burning feeling in my gut to not go offshore. in my boat a handful of times, and I never have. Or to certain places, and I never have. Usually I'm by myself fairly often in my boat, so now on the West Coast, and I'll follow those instincts. I have 100% felt, I have had a feeling where I know 100% for certain that today when we leave camp, we're going to cut that tag and harvest that big game animal that we've been after. I've had that happen I don't know how many times. Just the second I got up, ate breakfast, started moving. The second I got out of my bunk or my tent, I know it's going down today, without a doubt. I've never really shared that much till after the fact, but I have felt it, and I have known 100% for certain it's going down today. And I've been correct, I don't know how many times. But that's about it for me. I'm sure other people out there, well, obviously, how many people have wrote into us telling us about hearing a strong voice in their head saying either get the hell out of here or look out, get out now, go home, whatever, right? And it sure is an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing to hear. Should be an amazing thing to master, wouldn't it? But there's a whole pile of skills out there that we're born with, obviously, and we're having them rubbed out of us. Why? I don't know. I do know one thing lately. I've been realizing a lot more watching the clues, the blatant clues in our face that, with the mainstream outlet owners on the planet today, I'm probably about 99.9% convinced that probably the devil himself owns mainstream media today, from all the blatant evidence being thrown in our faces. The amount of blatant truth about various dark groups that is being protected across the board on all mainstream media is absolutely amazing. It's so blatant in our face, and it continues to this day. It's amazing to me. That's amazing that it's just a very amazing fact. I'll stop right now because I could probably talk about that for hours, but I think that's one note that I'd like to leave everybody on with today, is to maybe possibly take a look at that, look into the evidence, and find out why somebody would think that possibly the devil himself is in control of all mainstream media outlet today. Because whoever controls the mainstream outlet today basically controls the world. And that is a fact. All right. Hello, Steve. Just a quick few things that may be of interest. Didn't realize others have had this experience. I'm a regular hiker at one spot in particular area in the Adirondacks. I've hiked this trail about a dozen times. That's about 10 miles long and all. A 2-mile hike takes me to a beautiful lake that I had often spent hours at picking blueberries and fishing. On the last trip, about 5 years ago, which have not been back to since, I was about halfway to the lake and this happened. In a matter of seconds, this feeling came over me of what I can only describe as fear. I stopped and listened to complete quiet. Within probably 5 seconds, I was so upset and confused that I turned and booked it back to my car. Never felt this before, and not since then have I felt this way again. I was surprised that others have wrote you about similar experiences. The other story I'd like to share happened in 1999 in Quebec at a fishing camp. As part of a fishing trip which involved 15 men, 2 men per boat. The man with me said, "I never saw a star in the middle of the day," which made me look up. I saw it and continued fishing. A few seconds later, he said, "I think it's moving." We looked together, and it was moving along a contrail made by a plane. The plane appeared to be quite a few miles away from this object. It never dawned on me that I could see this object very clear, and not the plane making the contrail. Within minutes, this object was directly behind the plane, which I could not see yet. My friend picked up my binos and looked. He said, "Holy shit," and handed them to me. What I saw was a plane and a large silver ball on its tail. By comparison, it was like a basketball behind a half of a pencil. This was huge. It followed the plane for maybe 15 seconds and then just vanished. No flash or turning away from the plane, just gone. Well, that's it. I hope I didn't bore you with this. Take care. Steve. Andrew. All right, Andrew, thanks for sending that in. And on that note, I've had piles of people email me in about UFOs. And I appreciate the time you take to email that in to me. But I'm going to tell you flat out, I can't start entertaining UFO emails here. I can't, because The UFO thing is so freaking common, it's mind-boggling, it's endless. It's been acknowledged by all the major governments in the so-called free world today. And my full motivation to doing what I'm doing right now on this channel is giving back people all their self-respect, treating them with respect, reassuring them they're not alone when it comes to what they have seen in the woods. All right, that's what it's about right now, because I am absolutely livid at the amount of people who have lost their outdoor life. It's gone. It's been stripped from them, taken, robbed from them, all because they're not honestly informed of what's really going out in a lot of the places in the world today when it comes to being in the mountains and the forests. That's what this channel is about. So if you email me specifically about a UFO, I'm telling you flat out, I'm skipping it by. All right, I do not have time to reply to your email, that's for certain. But if it's an email mailed to me to share with everybody on this channel about a UFO, it's not going to happen. There is probably tens of thousands of other outlets for that topic available online, I'm certain, but for obvious reasons, I just can't do it. I'm not going to do it. And please don't be offended by that. Please understand that obviously I am about the outdoors. I'm about the real world out here, and I know UFOs are a part of that. But what I really need to do is I need to get every single voice heard who has had an encounter in the woods and is troubled, who've had their character assassinated or their outdoor passion stripped from them, and they've sold their outdoor gear and they can't go in the woods anymore. That's what I'm about right now, okay? As far as proving something goes, it's been proven. Somebody emails me photos, I share them. Do you ever hear me saying, please, if you got photos, send them to me? No, I don't. But people send them and I share them. But I'm confident the noose is getting tighter on the puzzles. The puzzles are getting more full, that's for sure. I know mine is. Can't speak for everybody else, but I know my puzzle is getting far more completed this last year than it ever has. But anyway, I think I might go farther up. I'm going to see how high up I can get on this road right now, and I'm going to go to another place up above I'm looking at right now, and I'm going to see if I can show all of you exactly where somebody was basically screamed at and marched their ass out of the woods right above me up here. Share my story, howtohunt.com. Tell my story, howtohunt.com. That's how it's going to get to us through you.